I was riding a bicycle to a desk job, answering phones in an office, and people walking in going, "Aren't you Dee Snider?" And I'm lying because it was easy. I was like, "No, are you kidding me?" And they go, "Oh my God, you look just like him." I go, "Crazy, right? If only.
You will all know who my guest is today when I say two words: Twisted Sister. What a cool name, right? Or what if I say, "We're not going to take it," or "I want to rock"? Okay, Dee Snider is a rock and roll god of a man who I really respect on so many levels. But Twisted Sister is only the tip of the iceberg. This guy's an example of hard work, self-discipline, and perseverance, which I totally relate to. No one is born successful, and success doesn't just land in your lap. Everything Dee has accomplished, he accomplished because he made it happen. Besides being a songwriter and lead singer of Twisted Sister and active in the music industry for over 40 years, he has hosted his own radio shows like The House of Hair, which I can't even relate to, and Dee Snider Radio. He has done a lot of TV where he hosted the first episode of MTV's, remember that? Heavy Metal Mania, narrated and hosted many shows and specials on VH1, film trailers, behind-the-scenes segments, and a DVD special features. He's done DVD special features. Now, in 2010, Snider and his family began appearing in the reality television show Growing Up Twisted. Great name. In 2012, this is killer, Snider began appearing as one of the 18 contestants vying to become Trump's next celebrity apprentice. That's not a typical rock singer's thing, you know what I mean? And he kicked ass, man. This guy is smart and intense. All right, let me keep going. He's done voiceover for shows like SpongeBob SquarePants and was the voice of the main villain for the PlayStation 2 video game called Jack and Daxter. So the kids know this guy. Twisted Sister, this is great. Twisted Sister even appeared on the Pee Wee Herman film, and Dee starred in a horror film called Strangeland. He writes books. I could go on and on and on. And he's been married to his wife for 40 plus years, has 4 kids, which, trust me, is rare in the rock and roll and entertainment business. Dee is one of the greatest, has been called this, one of the greatest metal vocalists of all time, and I have never seen anybody, and I mean it, never seen anybody excite and motivate an audience like I witnessed when I performed with him. It's like, you don't have a choice. And I love that. Everyone, the unstoppable, undeniable, and 100% authentic Dee Snider.
Oh man, thanks, Kenny. You know, just on that last thing you said, there was a point in my career where I realized I was getting entire arenas and festivals to participate, but it was partially out of fear. They were literally I was intimidating them into responding and reacting. So I want to say, well, I really, yeah, they're having a good time, but they seem a little afraid.
Yeah, dude. I got to tell everybody. So we did this thing. We both were playing this Kings of Chaos gig, and we were not allowed to swear, I guess. Well, Dee's like, he's a dude, man. He comes out and he was like such a challenge to get people up. And he even said it. I'm not allowed to do the F-bomb, but you motivated them anyway, man. You're just a force of nature, and I love it. I love it, man. If I was to have a bunch of gladiators with me, I'd pick you, that's for sure.
And I'd pick you, brother. I'd pick you.
You know what the thing is? You're like a team leader, but you're a team player too. It's like, like in football, like guys like Mahomes and Brady, they're like, obviously they're the quarterbacks, they're the star, they're calling the plays, but you're like the lead singer, but you're a band guy.
Yeah, I mean, I only in the last couple of years did the solo album thing. I always, after Twisted, I formed a band called Desperado on Elektra, but it wound up getting shelved, which sucked. Then there was Widowmaker. I always wanted to be a part of a band. And even when I went solo, the guys, I consider them to be my band. And I haven't played in recent years, but if I was to go out, I was actually thinking about it today, I would call those guys, they're my band. I like the band vibe, the band hang. And even when we put it together, we get to do an all-star thing like Kings of Chaos. My favorite moments are like backstage when the 5 or 6 of us are just hanging and talking and laughing and sharing stories. That's the best. To me, that's one of the best parts of rock and roll is the band hang.
Well, even in high school in bands, it was the hang. It was like, we'd rehearse every day, and whoever had the biggest garage. In my case, I had a barn. And it was like that was so much a big part of it. And that's where you would then work out ideas. I always say that, in order to collaborate with somebody, you got to be able to connect with them and communicate, right?
Yeah, I'm amazed how many times I hear a story, and I heard this about Zeppelin, I've heard it about the Stones, I've heard it about other bands, that the band guys came together after sitting and comparing record collections, like talking about the records they had and sharing the music. And when they saw that there was this connection before even the audition stage, it was most important that you could hang. Can you hang? Can you share this music together? And that's how it develops from there. The best relationships are like that.
Well, if you think about it, teams win Super Bowls and NBA titles and World Series and Stanley Cups. It's the team you always hear about. They were the perfect team. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's that, and same with corporations. You get the team together and they're unstoppable that way,
Yeah, but see, being the front man and you've dealt with this as well. I agree with that 100%. And I chose to be the lead singer, the front man, because I am a narcissist and egomaniac. It just comes with the gig. But at the same time, it would bother me that the guys in my band who we stood shoulder to shoulder for 10 years, we played over 2,000 bar shows before we broke. And people would only focus and talk about me, and it would make me feel bad actually, because I've got that ego thing that wants all that attention. But I also do realize I couldn't just get out there on the stage by myself and just start singing. You're like a little gang. You are a gang, and you're getting in there and you're facing all the audience together, and it sometimes, but the band guys get overlooked for the John Cougars or the Dee Sniders,
Yeah.
And it really is a band. Your band, John Cougar's band, was a band, man.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, though, back in that time, people wanted to see a rock star. They wanted to see that, and you look like, come on, your whole thing was like, and so they're like, hey, check this out. I remember seeing The Who many times and didn't appreciate Entwistle, who was holding it together. Because, look at you. You got to look at the lead singer, Roger Daltrey. Then Pete Townshend's jumping all over the place, and forget about Moon. He's like a nutcase. So your eye didn't even see Entwistle.
And yet with a drummer like Keith Moon, you had to be a rock on bass guitar because there was nothing steady to hold on to. He was holding up the whole damn band, that guy.
He was.
You're right. And yet unappreciated. And they wonder why he's just standing there, because what a job to just hold that thing together.
Oh, dude, I saw that when we Mellencamp opened up for The Who 3 times, and I happened to be right above looking down on Entwistle, and that's when I went, oh my God, he's the glue. He's running the whole thing. But you guys, I saw your documentary. It was, that was amazing. Or a Twisted Sister documentary. So you guys were in that triangle, right? Was it Connecticut, Jersey, and New York?
Yeah, the tri-state club scene. Yeah.
And you guys, and wasn't the thing that really struck me about that was like, just so that people who haven't seen it, it's like, you guys were like, you were dominating, you were controlling it, but you couldn't break out of that triangle. You couldn't get signed. So you were like rock gods in this small area, but you wanted more. And I think it took a long time to get signed, right?
Yeah. I was with the band for 8 years before we got signed. The band existed for 10 years. And yeah, we were this regional phenomenon, and that was drawing thousands, 1,000 to 4,000 fans a night, 5 nights a week, packing these places, losing their minds. Yet the corporate execs, record company execs in the high towers couldn't be bothered to go to the suburbs. And the suburbs are where rock thrives. That's where it lives. That's where it breathes. Yet they could, they were going down to CBGB's and signing a band that had 50 people in the place. Meanwhile, Twisted is across the bridge in Jersey playing for 3,000, and no one's even paying attention at it, looking at us. We were disregarded, rejected by every label about 5 times, and that's not an exaggeration. Ultimately, we went to England and signed an indie deal with a label called Secret, which it was.
Which is a secret.
It was a secret. And I remember first coming back, when we first came back to the States after the Can't Stop Rock and Roll album came out on Atlantic, and meeting fans, and they're going, "Where's your English accent?" And I was like, "What English accent?" They go, "Well, we heard about you in the UK, the new wave of British heavy metal. And we were over there, Twisted Sister, these New York dudes in the middle of it all. And people thought we were English at first because we came out of there."
You look kind of English.
Yeah. But a lot of people have done that. I mean, Hendrix had to do that. Joan Jett had to do that.
Yep.
The Stray Cats had to do that.
Wow.
It's a well-worn path. You could go over there. And England, the United States is so huge. Europe is the size of states. England is the size of one of our states. Italy's a state. You go over there, it's easier to get attention in a smaller country. And a country like England has a lot of influence. So you make some noise there, and it echoes back in the United States.
So my gut feelings, I don't know the other guys in the band, but you were the team leader. You were the one that was pushing everything, right? Like, I mean, would those guys have been just comfortable just staying in that tri-state area and, getting laid and being a rock star? Or was it you that was like, no, I can't. I only know you, and you seem like that guy wanted the whole deal.
Well, I think some of the members probably would have, because we were so popular locally. We were making, when I wrote my memoirs called "Shut Up and Give Me the Mic," the bands in the local bar scene were making $1,000 cash a week in the 70s. I found a calculator. That's like $350,000 a year now. So imagine you're 21. You get $350,000 a year, and you're owning, people were buying Corvettes and Mercedes and houses. I mean, $350,000 a year, you could have a nice life. And there were celebrities in their own backyard. It was very easy to, somebody in the documentary called it the velvet noose. It was very easy to fall into that and think, oh, we've arrived. And I would say, a JJ for sure, my guitar player, there was enough of us in the band, the majority, that said, this is not the finish line. And I remember after we started hitting that 1,000 a week, we cut our salaries to $240 a week and put the other $760 each back into demo tapes, back into a new stage show, new costumes, new press kits. Just kept reinvesting in ourselves. So we never, one of my favorite phrases, Arnold Schwarzenegger's "Stay Hungry," which was the name of our biggest album. He has never lose that feeling you had when you were down and out and starving and struggling. So we always just didn't have enough money to get by, and we always put it back into the band. And we were one of the bands that broke out. Probably one of the only ones.
Hey, it just made me think of something. I told somebody I was going to do a thing with you, and they sent me this. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, man, that is the OG 24-hour hotline with the original logo on it. Oh my God. That hotline, it was just like somebody's phone number in the band. It's probably JJ's phone number. Hello, Twisted Sister Hotline. Yeah, we're playing tonight.
When was the last time you saw that? Yes, somebody who works for me said their mom, I think, sent it or something, or somebody in the family.
It's amazing that the people still hold on to that. There's a lot of TV specials and documentaries, a lot going on recently, and so I've been forced to dig through the boxes of memorabilia and photos and stuff like that. So deep down in the bottom one box, I was like, oh my God, look at that thing. So I have, believe me, I saved all that myself,
Hey, I got to ask you a question. This is completely a different direction. All right. So, what was it growing up with your dad, Bob? Is that his name?
Yeah, Bob.
State trooper. Man, when I was a kid, those people scared the crap out of me.
So yeah, he was like, Korean War vet, hard ass. I mean, he's my inspiration. If you see the videos, that's my dad screaming and yelling, that was his line. What do you want to do with your life? He used to scream that at me all the time. And I immortalized him in the video. He's still alive, 92 years old. And he's tough mother. And yeah, it wasn't easy. I mean, I remember when I used to work down at the beach, and he was a state trooper down there. He would have cops come in and arrest me at work. So I'm working in like a burger place right on the beach, right? And all of a sudden these cops come in, throw me at the wall, search me, pull out drugs out of my pocket. I never did a drug in my life. And everybody's looking, handcuff me, drag me out of the place. And my dad's out back in his squad car. He's going, hey, I just want to say hi, see what's going on. I'm like, really? Now I got to go back to work? Explain, I just got arrested.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude.
it was kind of tough.
Is he one of your parents is Ukrainian, right?
Yeah, my dad, yeah.
See, my grandfather came from Ukraine, so I got that in me. Yeah, say that, you know what? Those are tough mofos. They came out of a country and they fought their way, and boy, they appreciated coming here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, come out of a country where people are shooting at you. I mean, you see what's going on right now in the Ukraine. This has been going on for centuries. These poor people have been dealing with this occupation, particularly by Russia, for centuries and fighting for their independence and their freedom. Yeah, it definitely makes you tough. So weird, man. Look, my father was my nemesis. He was my motivation. I was out to show him that I could do it. He discouraged me, laughed at me, mocked me. So he would stop me. I remember he grounded me and wouldn't let me rehearse with the band anymore. So I took up jogging, and I used to jog to rehearsals. So I'd go out jogging every night. And I was like in high school. And he goes, you jogging again? I go, yeah, got to stay in shape. That jog down to rehearsal, rehearse, jog back home. He goes, man, that was a long run you did there. And I'm be sweating, of course, I'm like, hey, you got to stay in shape. But yeah,
I love it.
All these years later, I've kind of come to understand him more, in recent years, we've gotten really close, and I've just sort of understood that he came from a different time and a different era. And in this strange way, he thought he was protecting me. He thought he was trying to, he thought that I was headed for a fall. I remember him saying, dreams don't come true. He would scream at me, and he came from the Depression, and he grew up with that, dreams don't come true mentality. That's not the real world. Believe me, he was like stunned, when he's stunned when he saw me on TV, stunned when he saw his son making money, dressing up like a queen. And I think he's proudest when I was on Broadway. I was in Rock of Ages for 3 months, and I remember them taking a picture standing in front of the theater starring Dee Snider, and that blew their minds. They just didn't think things like that actually could happen, and thought by stopping me, they were protecting me, So I've just come to understand them more as I become a dad and a granddad. I just sort of get what they were trying to do. They screwed up, but they were trying.
Well, I mean, dude, the contrast of describing what Bob was like, and then, you didn't just dress up. I mean, you created this metal drag image with long blonde curly hair and excessive eyeshadow and rouge and a beauty mark and red lipstick. I mean, and your dad is a state trooper, tough Ukrainian, and that's what you pick.
Dude, I remember when I knew that he was completely beaten. He was completely beaten. It was during the bar days, and I arrived home at 6, it must have been 7 in the morning, sun's up. And there was, I got arrested wearing full stage clothes before I was famous, and that was a rough night in jail. So I stopped wearing on the street. I used to wear my makeup and stuff, walking around. But I come walking home. He's outside changing the oil on his car. And I come walking in, and the makeup's all over my face, and I'm wearing Daisy Dukes with heels, and I was wearing full women's clothing in the early days. And he just goes, "Good night, Dee." And just good night, Dee. And I said, "Good night, Dad." And I just saw him, like, the poor bastard was beaten. He fought so hard to
my God.
keep me. He wanted me to be a cop. He wanted me to be a baseball player. And here I was, a damn queen walking in the house. And but what are you gonna do?
Dude, so you must have gotten your intensity from him, and your mom was more the artistic person. So you got the creativity. Would that be fair to say you got the creativity from your mom? Because you're really creative, super creative.
Yeah, she was she was an art teacher, and she sang in the church choir. So she got that, but she never. We had our own issues because I didn't. What I did didn't make her proud. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make her proud because I was a classically trained countertenor. And you're so talented. You have such a beautiful voice, and you're singing that right. So she really didn't approve of what I did. And my biggest, like you said, that moment on Broadway where that's what they could relate to, even though it was a rock and roll Broadway show. They loved theater and going to a Broadway show and seeing their son. That resonated. I had written a Christmas song for my wife one year. She asked me to write her a Christmas song, and I wrote it. And a few years later, Celine Dion recorded it.
Oh, man.
And it's it's the biggest selling holiday record in history, 14 million copies. And the song's called The Magic of Christmas Day. God bless us, everyone. And she was beaming. Celine Dion, and it wasn't a rock song. It was my wife wanted a Christmas song. I wrote her a Christmas song, and I never wrote it to be recorded or sold. But now, we call the house that Saint Celine built. 14 million albums. But anyway, that stuff made them proud. She never really took pride in the weirdness of what I did and the rock and rollness of what I did. It wasn't their bag.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, my dad did the last 13 missions in those big ass bombers that took out Hitler in World War II. So I become a hippie. I had hair at one point, anti-Vietnam, which made sense. But we were like this, the 60s. And I remember my mom was supporting us, but my dad, he's a cool dude, but he was like, I could tell. He was like, wait a minute. I just fought World War II. Taking out Hitler, we were saving the world, and you're like walking around protesting and wearing bell bottoms. I'd go down to Greenwich Village and get all my clothes down to the moccasins, the Nehru shirts and the buckskin fringed jackets, and he was probably looking at me, what?
Yeah, this is they, and that's why I said in later years, and I mean later, like the last 5. I've come to understand, just to be able to, because as a dad now, whatever, I could switch and see it from his viewpoint and where he grew up and how he was raised and what they lived with and dealt with and fought for. It gave me, just try to, what do they say, walk in another man's shoes before you judge them. I was able to say, he was still a hard ass and too hard. He screwed me up, man. He screwed me. I was the oldest. And he really was way too hard on a sensitive kid. And he made me into like this, like really hostile and angry young man. But at the same time, at least I could step back from it and understand. They come from a very different place, very difficult to understand. You walking around looking the way you did after holy crap, you ever seen a B-17 or B-15 or whatever? Oh my God, he sat in those things and flew. They were getting shot at, bullet holes. They sat on their helmets so they wouldn't get shot in the ass. Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And more planes got shot out of the sky than came back. I mean, it was insane. But the thing is that you, as much as you learned from him, he learned from you.
He wouldn't say it like that, but he wouldn't say, wow, I learned some really good things from you, Dee. But he's just the fact that he's accepted certain things and recognized and the fact that I've had the success I've had, I have the lifestyle I've had, that I pursued what a pipe dream, they would call a pipe dream, and made it happen, and he knows how hard I worked to make it happen. And what he respects that and he admires that. And it's funny though. One of the things I don't think it's funny, but it's just weird. He keeps asking me because I don't play much anymore, and he goes, look at those pictures of you in front of those tens of thousands of people. Don't you miss it? Don't you miss
There you
being
go.
up there? And I'm like going, wow. He's like imagining what it must be like to be up there, or at least processing the idea that his kid is up there in front of all these people cheering for him, and just trying to wrap his brain around, like, how do you stop that? How do you stop it? And the answer is, I get to do things like Kings of Chaos. We get to do gigs with some really cool people, and play in front of hundreds and thousands of people sometimes, and we have fun. I don't need to be up there every single night now. Just doing it once in a while makes me. And it's much more fun than it was, because I would be a mental case when it came to touring. It was such a grind. I'm not complaining. It's a grind that shows, but still, it's night after night after night. You got to keep your stuff together. And with the Kings of Chaos, we play on occasion, so it doesn't have that pressure of got to save your voice for the next show. We got 6 shows in front of us. You got to keep it. It's just like, hey, let's have fun, rock out. It's awesome to do that with you.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not your band. You're a guest.
Yeah, exactly.
Walk on.
It's not your fault. Right. You're not carrying the whole thing on your shoulders. It's not the whole. I mean, I really, you talk about, I wrote all the songs. I created all the ideas. The videos were mine. And just with a credit to my wife, you mentioned Suzette. It's been 47 years since she walked into that club and came to see that. She thought she was seeing a girl group. She was 15. And she was standing, and we weren't popular, man. We was like 12 people there. And she went right up in the front of the stage. She's 15 years old with her fake ID, and she's waiting to see the girls come out. And all of a sudden, I walked out, and I laid eyes on her, and I was like, damn, I got to have that. And I was 21. I found out she was 15. I swallowed my tongue. I was like, oh, my God, she's Italian. So, they look like they're ready to go, man. They're ready to go at 15. Gang. But you made all the costumes, and she did the makeup, and she did the Bone logo. She did all the artistic, like I would say, I got this idea, and she would, help me make it a reality. So definitely, 5'3", 115-pound Italian woman behind the crazy man. But between the two of us, we were just, everything with Twisted Sister came from this gigantic head.
I mean, Bob should have been. Did he realize that she was doing all that stuff? Hey, Bob, it's not my fault. It's that girl. That 15-year-old girls make me wear these clothes. Not my idea.
Well, it's a funny thing, because I was already I was acting out and dressing up a bit, and she kept pushing me to do more. And so she'd be like, hey, why don't you try some lipstick? I'm going, I'm not wearing lipstick.
Right.
Gay. And she'd go, oh, just try a little lip gloss. So I remember giving me a strip, and it was like about this long. It had like 12 different shades. It went from clear to blood red. And I went, well, I'll try, I'm dating her. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'll wear that. And then when that emptied out, I went to the beige. And I was like, oh, well, here's the beige. A month later, I'm at blood red lipstick, and that's how it stayed. And the same one with the nail polish. She goes, try some nail polish. No, wear nail polish. I'm a guy. She goes, oh, black nail polish. Try. So she put on some black, and it was all right. Black turned to purple, turned to blue, turned to red, turned to pink. And I had pink fingernails for like 20 years. Yeah. So I was a trailblazer for RuPaul, and it was just this dude. Yeah. All Suzette's fault.
Yep, exactly. That's my whole point. You can say, Bob, it really wasn't me. I never wanted to do that.
I asked him once, I said, you ever think I was gay, Dad? And he goes, no, I saw your girlfriend. I figured, I didn't know what was going on, but you had a hot girlfriend. So, I figured you were all right.
Yeah, well, it's so simple when they see you with the girl, and, okay, that's my boy. So, I mean, all right, so the biggest album you guys had, I think it's that third album, which is, what's that called? Stay Hungry. And it took a long time. This is what people don't realize, especially today in the business. Back in our day, back in the 70s, 80s, record labels made a lot of money. That Celine Dion record that sold 16 million. I'm on one that sold 40 million. That's a lot of money. The record labels were making 82 cents, 85 cents on the dollar. Now they got all this money they can reinvest in new bands. You make a record, that's so-so. Well, we got money, make another one. That's so-so. And then you make a third, and then bam, in your case, stay hungry. Finally, they get paid back tenfold.
But this is, you talk about something, the reality. I've talked about this, social media. We're not ready for the truth of the business. And it's not, the streets aren't paved with gold. And when you make it, I'm going to make it. That's what we say. You said, I said, I'm going to make it. What does that mean? In my head, it meant like crossing a finish line, spiking the ball, victory lap, and I'm set for the rest of my life. No, that's not what make it means. Twisted Sister had an 8-point deal. 8 points. We got 8 points.
That's nothing. That's like half of average.
8 cents on a dollar. And out of our 8 cents came the producer's points. He got 4.
Oh, we got 4.
4. The recording budget, the video budget, the tour support, out of 8 points. This is the facts. We sold 20 million records, I think now. We didn't see a dollar until 1997 off of sales of records. Okay, 97. And that's when Ahmet Erdogan himself decided to absolve us of the remaining $150,000, $200,000 that we owed, because we'd been paying back all the recording budgets. You said the third album, we already had 2 recording budgets under our belt, and the tour support and the video budgets. And by the way, we're the ones who started the big video. We're not going to take it was like $1 million video. Nobody was doing videos like that. But we were like, somebody wanted to put up the money. We didn't realize we were putting up the money. It's our money.
You're paying it back at the 8%, or really you're paying back at 4%. You're paying back all that money at 4%.
So we didn't start seeing record royalties till the 90s. We'd been broken up since 87. We broke up in 87. In 97, we started to see record royalties. And then by the 2000s, they came up with the downloads, free to everybody downloading. Nobody's buying records anymore.
Nobody buying records.
So the point is, it's not, the streets ain't paved with gold. And when I meet young bands, and so many young bands, because I wasn't ready, I grab them by the shirt collars. I go, parlay, parlay. And they go, what do you mean, man? I said, look, you don't know if you're starting to have success, but you don't know, is it going to go on forever? Or is this going to be a sheer cliff on the other side? You're going to fall, or you have another climb to go. Whatever energy you got to figure out how to turn that into the next thing you're going to do. So I went into radio, but I didn't know it. After I lost everything, I went into radio. I went into voiceover. I went to acting. I went to screenplay writing, book writing. So all these things, and I found life after rock and roll, but I was not prepared. For it. And, there was a time in my life, Kenny, and I've talked about this, where I woke up one day, I had 3 kids. The money was gone. Grunge came in. Nobody was buying what I was selling anymore. Nobody was interested in anything I did. And I had no money. The money had run out, and I wasn't high. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink, but I lived like a rock star. And when the money started not coming in, I just said, well, the next record, the next tour, and I started advancing till no one would give me $1 anymore. Had to go bankrupt. And I was riding a bicycle to a desk job, answering phones in an office, and people walking in going, aren't you Dee Snider? And I'm lying because it was easy. I was like, no, are you kidding me? And they go, oh my God, you look just like him. I go, crazy, right? If only. So, it got that bad. And I wasn't prepared for the bottom to fall out. So that's when I started. Well, people said, hey, you got a good voice. So I started a radio show, making no money. And I started doing voiceover auditions, making no money. But I built that up into 6-figure careers that, helped for me. But the point is, yeah, rock and roll. And people, it sounds like bitching and moaning. No, I was just saying, we're doing it first and foremost out of the love. My dad used to say, "You're making like 13 cents an hour." And he was pretty right. I said, "Dad, I do it for nothing because I love it. It's because what I got to do. I got to do this." And Kenny, you was the same way. And if you can make money doing it, that's the bonus. But first and foremost, and I see young bands, I meet young bands, now they don't even think about selling records anymore. Now they're just hoping to make enough money to make it to the next gig, playing live. But they're doing it because they love it. And that's why we all did it.
Absolutely. I mean, my whole thing, I talk about that all the time. Realize your purpose in life. It's not up here, it's down here in your heart. When you realize what your purpose in life is, then you have the fuel to overcome setbacks and obstacles and persevere through all the downtime because you got to do it. I got to do it. I got to be on stage. Or nothing else is as attractive or feels as good as that.
Yeah. Well, dude, you were talking about how long it took Twisted Sister. The band started in 73. We broke in 84. All right, I joined in 76. Okay. That was a damn long time to be in that band. To play it. And there's many times where we said, maybe we should pack it in. And we looked at each other and said, what else are we going to do? We don't do anything else. This is all we know how to do.
Yeah, but you didn't realize, you can do a lot of other things because, see, when we're young, we don't realize that the skill set we learn from doing that, you can apply it to other things. Like it or not, Bob gave you some stuff and your mom gave you some stuff that you didn't know at that age that you could parlay that into the things that you've done.
You want to talk about crazy realization of your skill set? So my wife family owns real estate and big buildings, big daycare centers and tractor supplies. And her father got dementia and he made her full power of attorney and turned everything over to her. Well, that means I am running her father's real estate empire. And it's one of the primary things I do is handle all these properties and leases and things like that. And people on the phone like, Dee Snider calling, we got a problem with the sewage system. They go, is this the guy from Twisted Sister? I go, yeah, I know. But it's weird. You talk about the skill set and you talk about, how it's surprisingly applicable to a different product.
Yes.
What we learned playing rock and roll, certainly not how you play drums or singing, but the other aspects of it. If you got your stuff together, it's surprising what you can achieve, what you can do. So now I'm like a real estate mogul, which is nuts.
Wow. See, I didn't even add that on the list. But the thing is, you learned how to solve problems. You learned how to get from A to Z and with no money. You learned how to make it. And so, we'll just use the same thing for what you're doing. I mean, that's what I'm kind of doing, writing my second book or editing it, doing this. I got touring, I got a wine that came out,
What book you're working on?
Well, the first book's an autobiography, Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll. This book is more of the skill set, what it took to do what I do. It's more action. Every chapter will have an action item where it's not just you read it and throw it away, but there's actually something that you can work on to hopefully improve your life. And so it's like there's stories in there's rock and roll stories, but it's basically getting to the nuts and bolts, how you become successful and stay successful, communication skills, connecting, communicating, collaborating, innovation, creativity, adapt or die. I have a thing called adapt or die. It's like, hey, man, when I walked in the studio and they had this metal box called the Lin 1 drum machine, and there was a moment there, and they were going to use it on this song that wasn't even going to make it on the record called Jack and Diane. I looked at that thing and I got that fight or fight mode, which I'm sure you relate to, which is like, I didn't sulk and go, hey, I'm walking out of here. I grabbed that machine, grabbed the manual one. I'm programming this sucker. I want to be a part of this. Took the drum beat, program. My point is that was new technology. I adapted.
Yeah, that's so essential. Brilliant. Actually, in my memoirs, as I was writing them, and I wrote them myself, and I can write. I've actually got my first fiction novel being published May 22nd. It's called Frats. So that's coming out, my first fiction novel. But as I was writing, I'm going, I'm clearly seeing what I call life lessons along the way. And then I went back and I literally popped and said, life lesson 1, life lesson, because these are moments in time where if you were smart, we learned from the mistakes we made. Like the time I picked a fight, moved into a new neighborhood and picked a fight the first day of school with the toughest guy in school.
On purpose?
Well, yeah, I was kind of the jail mentality, beat up the biggest guy and you'll be in jail. Well, I didn't win. As it turned out that this guy was, this guy literally in front of the whole school picked me up in the air and threw me at a brick wall and changed the course of my life. But what I realized, and here's what I realized, and there's a graphic novel called He's Not Going to Take It. It's about a comic book about me going to Washington, but it delves back into how I became that guy. And they went all the way back to elementary school. And then I said, if that guy hadn't kicked my ass that day, I would have been the popular guy. I would have been the guy at all the parties. I would have been the guy with all the chicks. But instead, I was in my room listening to rock and roll records, dancing in front of a mirror, imagining what it'd be like to be a rock star. I wouldn't even have thought about my craft because I was popular. But because that incident happened, I was relegated to being the guy who wasn't at the parties, who was home on Friday night, but I was just immersed in music, rock and roll, singing, performing. And I sort of want to send him I think he's dead though, but I want to send him thank you, Hammy, for kicking my ass in 5th grade. So I had a career.
No, but it's true, man. He gifted you. He actually gifted you of that. You know what I did? Because I was way smaller than you. I was a little guy. So I'm in a new school, 10th grade, and all these guys, they called them greasers back then. I had long hair. I was a jock, but I had long hair and they wanted to kick my ass. So my parents went to New York because I grew up in Western Mass. They went to New York. I had a party, invited all my enemies. I invited all my enemies. I had protection.
Nice.
That's how I did it.
Yeah, there's Will Smith, who now is physically big because of the movie roles he's done. But he said when he's growing up, he was a skinny guy. He said, make him laugh. He was like the funny guy, Will Smith, and he made all the other guys in Philadelphia. He was, they want to kick his ass, and he'd make them laugh. Whatever it takes, we all figure out a way to win.
So, so right now, if you had to pick all the different things you do, I mean, is there one that's your favorite? Is it the writing the books? Is it the real estate? Or you just like doing it all?
I hate the real estate. It's just too, I was told there'd be no math. But I like, at this point in my life, it's writing. What I write screenplays as well. I've got a movie that I wrote called My Enemy's Enemy that I'm going to be directing. I like the freedom of writing because I'm not limited by how old I am, what I look like, anything. As long as it's convincing on the page and an actor can read those words and perform it, or as long as somebody can read those words and visualize this fictional character that you've created, it doesn't matter how old I am or what color I am or what I look like. So that's what I love. If I can write a convincing 15-year-old African-American lesbian, and on the page, and someone reads it and they go, and they're immersed in the story, and they're not going, hey, some white guy wrote this. No, that's the art. That's the art of good writing. But I love the fact that I have that freedom to be anybody when I'm writing. When I'm in front of the camera, I'm on stage or whatever, I'm limited. This is what I've been given, and this is the voice I was giving, and this is what I can work with. But on the page, I could be anything.
That's cool. I can really relate to that. It's like I have this phrase I came up with. It's like, I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend my entire life trying to be as great as I can be. It's like kind of like a running back. You know how they don't always get touchdowns, but they're always trying, play by play, game by game, season by season. Sometimes they get a touchdown, sometimes 5 yards, 2 yards, -2, fumble, break their leg, and they're out for the season. But they love what they do. You seem like that guy, man. You just, which I can relate to, is like, you're a running back. You're always trying to get in the end zone. If it's not the writing, it's going to be this. If it's not that, it's going to be this. If it's not that, it's like you're going to get the most value out of life. You are till you die.
Yeah, I mean it's really who I am, and when you look at you look at the people look at how many years it took Twisted to make it, and they said I would have packed it in, I would have given up, but it just was not in my makeup. Even getting my hot wife to go out with me, she wanted nothing to do with me. I was this big weird freaky guy. And I just would not. We're working on. She's working on memoirs. I'll tell you right now. In her book of her life, I am an asterisk. I'm like, oh yeah, and she was with the guy in Twisted Sister. I mean, I'm the least interesting thing in her book, and I'm working on it with her. But in her book, it's sort of documenting. This guy just would not leave me alone. He just kept showing up at my school, at my house. He was just there. He never would. He just would not stop. And I finally just sort of accepted that he was going to be around. That was 47 years ago, but I'm still here.
That's so badass. I mean, hey, do you ever have that feeling like okay, so if you have that feeling you're never satisfied, like, you have a good night, but next, you know what I mean? Like some people, they'd be happy to get one touchdown. Not me. I'm like, give me the ball. I need to do it again. I mean, like when Jack and Diane went to #1, I celebrated for 2 seconds. I went, that's not good enough. That's one song. I need to do another one, but I don't write the song. So I got to wait for John to write the song so I can come up with a great drum beat. You know what I mean? It's like one isn't enough. I'm never going to ever be satisfied and go like, that's it.
You know what? This is the reality, and people need to know this. People who achieve greatness, they rarely think they're great. They're always trying to be better, and they're always challenging themselves, questioning themselves, and pushing themselves to do better. People, my critique of my own performing, it's rare that I come off a stage and go, damn, I kicked ass. Damn, that was great. That is such 1% of the time. The rest of the time, people are blowing smoke on my butt, and I'm just, and I'm like, and myself, I'm going, damn, I could have done that better. It should have been better. I missed that mark there. I'm just my biggest critic. And my wife's always telling me, he always said, D, your B is everybody else's A+. Says your C is a solid B. Says, I know, but I'm not saying, oh, I'm doing better than they are. I am setting my own standard and my own bar to myself. And I'm that hypercritical. And anybody who's great, and guitar players, people, they don't think that people I met who are great, they think they could be better. They're always trying to be better.
I think that comes from a place of being honest, and we set the level so high. And we're not robots, we're humans. And humans, it's not just becoming great, it's the process, the journey, and what you learn to get there. And you're always going to be, you're never going to learn everything. There's always more to learn. And so if you can accept, like that's why I say, I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to try for my whole life. I think that's kind of like the human condition. You realize, hey, man, just do your best.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's, and I try to motivate people, and just like you do. And one of my favorite sayings, I'm paraphrasing, I don't even know who said it, but it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up and keep moving forward. And that is a key. Everybody gets knocked down. That's why in my memoirs, I told people I blew all the money. I was riding a bicycle to a desk job. I start my book. I'm in a parking lot of a what do you call it? A wedding place where they have weddings. They were having a fair night, a wedding fair, and I was flyering cars for my wife to do makeup because we were broke, and she would do makeup for $100 for a wedding. And I'm putting flyers on the car, and I'm being chased through the parking lot by the security because I'm flying cars, and I'm running not because I thought they were going to put me in wedding jail. I was afraid they were going to recognize me out there with my hood up, flying cars, and go, aren't you Dee Snider? This was like 1992.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you doing here? I was humiliated. I was embarrassed.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had 2 bankruptcies. It's easy to, once you've come out of all that, to talk about it, but people like you and me need to talk about how we fell, so other people know that it's okay to fall. Just got to get back up and keep fighting. That's the way it is.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a math equation, 0 equals 0. You do nothing, you get nothing. That's simple. You do nothing, you get nothing.
Exactly. And we, and that's, and again, people, and you can fall. You can, lose it all. We were broke. I had a year where there was $0 on my income tax.
Wow.
Zero.
Wow.
How do you go from making millions to making zero. And being in a rental house, having 2 bankruptcies, going to Goodwill, not be able to buy? My wife would talk about the thing that made her crazy. She could go into a store and she couldn't buy the kids a candy. We couldn't afford a quarter candy, and she knew that we had no money to do that. And and we came back out of that. And one of the big things is she goes, just the idea that I don't have to worry about every penny like we did for quite a few years. And I just want to say, credit to my wife. I met her when I had nothing, with me when I had everything. She was there. I never thought for a minute she'd leave when I lost every single penny, and said, okay, I'm going back to work in a salon. I could do hair, and we're still together all these years later, no matter what it is. She's walking in and out. I had no signal in the other room, so I had to move over here, babe.
So, that being said, how did you guys stay together? Everybody gets divorced.
You know what? They said, we've been to counseling. And one of the first things the counselor said to me was, only difference between couples that stay together and couples that get divorced is couples that stay together won't accept divorce as an option.
Oh, there you go.
He says, that's it. He says, it's not the problems they have. All couples deal with the same thing. The couples stay together and say, okay, we're not getting divorced, so how do we fix it? And we've been, and also, something about being through the war together and, and surviving together. And, and we've been through quite a few wars together, and we've survived, and, now we're enjoying the fruits of a lot of years of struggle, so we definitely have bonded through that. And we got great kids, and we got grandkids, and, we got all this. It's amazing. I feel blessed to have survived it, because it wasn't easy.
Oh, it's a great story, though. Dude, I appreciate you doing this. I don't want to keep you anymore. But man, I just respect you so much. And the biggest thing is your hard work, your ethic, and the stories you told just solidify what I believe in, and how much, when I started doing a little bit of research on you, and I already knew you, but my God, that's why I left you that message the other day. I'm like, what? Dude, you're my hero. I like a guy like you. You're just Bob, and your mom did a great job.
The last thing I'm going to say, one of the most trying time for my relationship with my wife is when I became a star, because you start getting your ass kissed at a level that is just unimaginable, and everybody's saying yes, and you don't want to hear the word no from anybody. No one says no to Dee Snider. And my wife is this tough Brooklyn chick. She's going to tell me the truth no matter what. And she didn't start kissing my ass because I was suddenly famous. I remember I'd come home from the road, be like, "I'm a god," and she'd go, "Empty the diaper pail. It smells like crap." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Empty the diaper pail. It smells like poo." And I'm like, "Okay." She's like, she would always bring me down to earth. You're home. She'd say, "Leave your cool at the door. You're a dad. You're my husband. I don't want that rock star BS." So she definitely came perspective, but the best thing that ever happened to me was losing everything. Nothing like a good humbling to bring a man down to earth and make him respect and appreciate. I was a real a-hole in the 80s, dude. I was caught up in the stupidity of it, but getting brought down to earth, realizing how blessed I am, realizing how lucky I am, has made me a better man, period. And on that note, we're going to go, because there's a storm blowing in, and my brother-in-law and my wife are outside, and it's starting to rain on them. So they're trying to give me space. I love you, man. I love you, and I'm glad. I'm so sorry I screwed up time-wise on you, but I hope we made it worth it, and I can't wait to rock with you again.
Yep. You got Dee. Take care, man. so cool doing this, man. You rock. I just love you and appreciate you.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right, see you.